Coming up on the show.
The lockdown elopers heading for Vegas.
I think I'm ready for my big day now. Let's go.
This week, we're in Oklahoma, meeting some of its legendary cowboys of colour. And the uphill task facing these mountain guides in a remote and stunning corner of East Africa.
This is Africa's botanical big game, because otherwise it has got lots of things that you can't find anywhere in Africa.
Hello and welcome to the show. Once again in lockdown at Travel Show HQ. It's getting a bit like Groundhog Day, isn't it? But I know from looking on our social media feeds just how many of you, like us, are desperate to get back out there on the road again. And I suppose all we can do in the meantime is plan and dream, and we've got plenty of great inspiration coming your way. First though, for those of us who are looking forward to a time when we can travel again, what does that look like? And how can we safely book a trip when things are still so uncertain?
Well, normally at this time of year, lots of us would be thinking about booking our usual summer trip to the beach or maybe an Easter city break. And there is, of course, one holiday coming up very soon that many travellers may still have their eye on. But coronavirus has meant that this festive season will look a little different. Travel website Skyscanner has found that despite this, many Brits are still searching for some of the more traditionally popular Christmas destinations. They've also been surveying thousands of people a week since March to try and understand how people's views on travel are shifting.
The searches we see people doing are short-term booking horizons. So that's either 7 days or 7 weeks at most. And generally that could be, getting home if a restriction has come into place. It could be getting away to work away. But actually, ultimately we see huge spikes. So when Portugal, for example, came onto the list of countries that you could go visit, we saw a spike of about 2,000%.
It's one thing to look at concrete bookings and searches, but when you're speaking to people about their feelings about travel, really what's the shift for you?
So they want to be sure that their money's safe. And actually, again, that they can move things around, make sure they can get a refund. And then second to that, or alongside it, I should say, is the health factor. People are really saying that, not only is it their responsibility to take care of themselves, it's a responsibility to take care of the community that they're visiting and that they live around. People will continue to need to adapt, and so will the industry. People are carrying over a significant amount of their holiday allowance from work into next year. So there's more need and more opportunity to use it and get away.
Meet the Hickman family. For them, a year is not complete without a trip to Disney World. They've booked for next year. Orlando, with its range of theme parks and resorts like Universal and Disney, has topped Skyscanner's searches for this Easter time.
I've been to Disney about 11 times now. I think this was the 11th time this year. My dad's been 25 times. Oh, so 24, 25th was this year. And it just takes you away from reality. The children probably get as much enjoyment out of it as me, but I think I'm a little bit higher than them.
2019.
I expect it to be a lot different. The queuing for the rides, I imagine it'll be a lot different. The children, they're very excited, but they're very excited every year to an extent. Even more so, I think, with being locked in this year, it gives us something to look forward to.
Well, fingers crossed they're back with Mickey and the gang next year. But for the rest of us still making up our minds, how can you book a trip away with confidence? Consumer magazine Which has said that since March, over 9 million people have had a holiday cancelled. but that £1 billion are still outstanding in refunds.
Hello, Rory.
Hello.
What's your advice for people who want to book a holiday now, even if it's not going to happen for a little while?
What I would say to travelers who are booking is book a package holiday that offers you protection against companies going bust. And unfortunately, we are going to see holiday companies and potentially airlines going bust. It also protects you against the government's changing travel corridor advice as well. Please book with a good tour operator. So unfortunately, there are lots of tour operators, lots of holiday companies who've done a really poor job of refunding customers. Beyond that, I would say take out a travel insurance policy that protects you against disruption. So you need to look for that specifically, and includes good medical insurance, because in 2021, if we travel to Europe, the European health insurance card will no longer be valid. So you are going to need that health insurance. Finally, if you can, book with a credit card.
What happens if somebody decides to bite the bullet, book a holiday for Christmas, and then it turns out the lockdown's extended?
A real risk, and each of the different countries in the UK are applying different lockdown rules, different lengths of lockdown, so very possible that may happen. The best advice I can give you if lockdown is extended is to make sure that you are booking with a trusted accommodation provider, holiday provider, one that will give you a refund. The law is broadly on your side. If you book with a package holiday operator, a good one, you book with accommodation provider, a good one, you should be able to get a refund if lockdown is extended.
Remember destination weddings?
They've always been big business for places like the Seychelles or Maldives. Lovely, sun-kissed, glamorous islands suitable for the very best day of your life. Or what about enormous Indian wedding bonanzas with hundreds of guests that went on for days?
As with so many things, you just can't do that anymore. But instead, an older and more furtive tradition has been revived, as Alana Isola found out.
I'm here in the city of Las Vegas, where up to 120,000 weddings are performed each year.
Do you have anything to make me feel like an actual bride?
How about a bouquet
Okay.
and a veil?
I want to find out how the wedding industry has been affected by the pandemic.
I think I'm ready for my big day now. Let's go. Nowadays, people can't or don't want to meet in large numbers, so a lot of weddings look a lot like this.
Now, I'm not actually getting married today, but I've come to Vegas for that authentic chapel experience.
Never in my life did I consider getting married by Elvis Presley, but here we are.
Well, hi there, friends. Name's Elvis. I'm alive and well, and here today at the world-famous Little Church of the West in the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. Do you both promise to adopt each other's hound dogs and never wear your blue suede shoes in the rain, to always be each other's teddy bear, and never go to bed without giving each other a hunk of burning love?
Well, that was slightly unhinged. Despite the fact the demand for small ceremonies like this are increasing, the wedding industry has been badly impacted, with the potential loss of $23 billion over the next 2 years. But there's now a growing trend for eloping, with around a third of people deciding to stick with their original wedding date.
We're seeing a lot of coronavirus brides that are either coming here because their wedding was cancelled in their home state and they want to keep the original date, so they're coming to Vegas. And also, it's really affected a lot of people financially, so, a less expensive wedding in Las Vegas is making a lot more sense for couples.
Dan runs the Little Church of the West, one of the oldest chapels in Vegas. It opened in 1942 and really started the wedding industry as we know it in Las Vegas.
What do you think it is about Vegas that makes this like the capital of weddings?
In Nevada, we make it very simple. They just got to produce their photo ID. There's a few questions, but it's pretty straightforward. And in Las Vegas, the Marriage Bureau, where you get that license, is open from 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight, every day of the year. So we make it easy, and that's why everyone comes here. Plus, it's Las Vegas, they can have a great time while they're here.
Eloping became very common during the Great Depression as couples struggled to pay for big ceremonies, hence their reputation for being cost-effective and hassle-free. Across the road at the Little Vegas Chapel, newlyweds Nathan and Barbie have some advice for people thinking about eloping.
We've been together for 17 years and it's compromise. You're hesitant, you want family there. We can have a reception at any point in time, in a time when we're not putting anybody at risk. So I think it's a good option, as long as you know it's what you want.
Now, this is an issue that hits close to home. You see, I'm one of the couples who've had their weddings postponed due to lockdowns. A new study found that 71% of those planning to have a wedding have decided to postpone their original plans. But what about eloping instead? I decided to call my fiance Kendrick to get his thoughts.
I was just thinking, it might sound a little bit crazy, but what do you think about eloping?
I don't know if my family's gonna go for that. I definitely know your mom is not gonna have that.
Yeah, my mom will probably throw a fit, just the thought of it. But like, what are we gonna do?
We could have 2 ceremonies, you know. Never know, that might be something.
Just do like just us, get eloped, get it in paper, and then celebrate with the family when everyone can actually celebrate. That's an option. All right, well, either way, I'm still gonna marry you. I love you. All right, see you when I get home.
Before I head back to Washington, I've got one more couple to meet. On the dusty plains of Red Rock Canyon, Katie and her partner Sean are eloping, just a stone's throw away from the city.
Wedding rings are an outward presentation, a symbol of the vows you will share, and represent a promise of eternal and everlasting love. I do pronounce you and present for the first time Mr. and Mrs. Stutes.
So congratulations to you both. This is such a beautiful place to have a ceremony. What kind of inspired this location for you guys?
We really knew that we wanted to elope, and we wanted to elope in a beautiful place.
My mother wasn't too happy, and I'm sure her mother wasn't either.
Yeah, our moms were definitely disappointed, but I think in the end they understood that this is what we wanted.
So I've definitely opened my mind to the option of eloping, but it is hard not to have my big day as I planned. Guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens next, but for now at least, I'm glad to be going home to see my fiance and husband-to-be.
Still to come on The Travel Show.
After the lockdown, the landslides. We're back with the mountain guides, desperate to get us back trekking in Uganda.
Let's stay in the USA for a moment as we catch up with the latest in our Untold America series, where we look at some of the people who've helped to shape the USA we know today. This week, we're in Oklahoma, meeting some of its legendary cowboys of color.
I started riding bareback horses when I was 15. I'm 80 years old, born and raised in America. I am a cowboy. I'm a pretty good cowboy. There was a time when I was one of the top in the United States. There were black cowboys before me. This is not really new. This is what people did years and years and years ago when they didn't do anything but herd cattle. If you work on a ranch every day, then on the weekends when they had to have a day off, then they went, put the $1 and $2 up and said, I can beat you riding a horse. And hey, that's the way it began. The people began to say, hey, let's put this together. Let's make an event out of rodeo.
We started over right here in Goli, America.
These different cities decided, hey, we need an annual rodeo in our town. It is a financial booster for our city. Cowboys Cult becomes a major event, and it got to be big, big.
I've ridden in the Cowboys a couple of rodeo all the time. I travel with them sometimes. When I first came in the game about 22 years ago, there was a lot of black cowboys. My grandfather was a cowboy, my uncles were cowboys, all of my friends are cowboys, and all the cowboys I know are black, you know. I kind of get my strength and energy through how I was raised through those guys. My life is 24/7 work, sun up to sundown.
The event that we know as bulldogging or steer wrestling was invented by a black man named Bill Pickett.
I was going to about 130 rodeos a year. I've been beat up. I had a punctured lung, cut liver, ruptured spleen. You're gonna go through it. You're gonna get hurt. It's just a matter of when and how bad. Once it's in you, it's hard to get out of you. When you come to the Dirty South, we're covered. There's a lot of talent here in Oklahoma. You know, we're here, and we're not going nowhere.
Finally, this week, lockdown has been hard for most, but particularly hard for those remote communities that rely on our cash to keep going.
In Uganda's stunning Rwenzori Mountains National Park, for instance, the crash in tourism was followed almost immediately by devastating floods and landslides. We've been to meet some of the people now working to rebuild their villages, tourist infrastructure, and their lives.
This is Africa's botanical big game, because otherwise it has got lots of things that you can't find anywhere in Africa, like the trees, like animals, like the scenery, like everything. It's really, really very unique. When most people come in and they see the beautification, they see the scenery here, they're like, they go home surprised, because otherwise it's something they don't believe that it is here. It's another unique world.
What makes Rwenzori Mountain so special is all the surroundings, especially the water bodies, the place being very green with all different types of trees, which most of them are medicinal. In the Rwenzori Mountains, we have 5 different zones, which includes the savanna grassland. We go to the tropical rainforest zone, get to the bamboo zone, and then Afro-Alpine zone, the moorland, which is just bare rocks, and then the glaciers.
Right now we are in Nyamwamba Valley, one of the areas that was badly hit by the floods. And like you can see, these are just where the floods passed going down the valley. And here is some of the area where the trail was really destroyed by the floods.
All of a sudden we heard this almighty roar. There's about a 30 or 40 foot wall of water coming down the river. And of course it just smashed everything that was in its way. It just was up over the top of the banks everywhere, huge boulders like the size of a car or even as big as a lounge room, just being taken down with the water. I rang and started shouting at people down in the village to run, run, run.
The floods actually happened at night when all of us were in bed. So we just had some sounds and people had to, I had a friend of mine had to communicate to me through the phone. He said, you wake up, the water is coming. And also when I waked up, I heard sounds of people and the sound of the river. When I came back, this was still there. I had 2 rooms. This was still there. This was the dining room, and this was my bedroom. So all those things that was in the bedroom, I was not able to pick them. I just picked those ones in the dining room. They destroyed some of the paths in the mountain.
Can you believe these guys here, they had no money in their pocket, I had no money in my pocket. They come up here and started working for free, started trying to rebuild the trails, trying to get a way across the river, exploring where we could pass.
Actually, I've been coming here, helping digging the trails, sometimes cooking for the team, sometimes slashing. Yeah, just do different kinds, as long as you're on the group. Everybody's getting involved, porters and guides. Yeah, it's hard. The work is hard. To me, it's important because nowadays there's no clans, no visitors. So coming here in the mountains, coming for work parties, helping me so much to cater for my family.
Much as we've been affected by the floods, so we've been making a new discoveries of other places where to put the trail. But it has also come as an advantage that on these new places to put trails, we've got some other new discoveries, like we've got a series of waterfalls along this valley.
We've managed to beat our way through and found a fantastic trail down alongside all these waterfalls. There's 9 in total, just one after the other, and it's really incredible. I don't think there's anything like this in East Africa. It's a fantastic section of trail. So in a way, the corona and the floods have also brought opportunity where we've been able to develop and realise more potential of the Ruwenzori Mountains.
And good luck to those guys as they carry on finding new trails. And by the way, didn't Uganda look amazing in those pictures? Right, that's all we've got time for this week. Coming up next week.
Lucy's here to look back at some of our favourite sporting trips from over the years, including the whooping Addie took at the Working Wounded Games in Maryland, and my brisk encounter with Scotland's freezing lochs.
Do you know what? It's actually not, no, I'm lying, it's really cold. Until then, if you want to catch up with some of our recent episodes, you can find us on the BBC iPlayer or all the usual places on social media. And until next time, from me and all of the Travel Show team standing a safe and sensible distance from me here in London, it's goodbye.